Yo. All right, so props to Apple first off for developing an operating system that does not allow you to import fonts. I think that is truly incredible. Now you can import fonts actually. Currently, you have to pay. You have to actually get an app to do so, but you can. So, for instance, you could get where is it? iPhone. There you are, iFont, right? And you could do that. So you could absolutely you could get your fonts. You could go to this iFont app and everything, and that's all great. I wish you would let me out of here, but I think iFont. No hate to them, but I think the interface is a little bit wonky. So, for instance, it took me forever to figure out how to not have one mobile device profile import per font. You can actually import multiple fonts per profile. You don't have to approve every single one individually. I don't even want to tell you how long it took me to figure that out. So it's not ideal. It's not ideal. So what I did, I made a just like a free tool to address that deficiency. And the tool looks something like this. It's nothing to write home about, but it's Python and it's standard library, which is to say you don't need to install anything else other than just Python. So if you're on a Unixy, Linuxy system, you're probably good to go. Otherwise, Windows, you might have to install Python to run it, but you don't have to install any dependencies beyond that. And I called it iGlyph just to play on iFont, I guess. And we won't go over the code. It basically what it does is you point iGlyph to a folder full of fonts and you specify the glob, whether you're matching on TTF or OTF files. You can give it like a name for the mobile config file, and you can do some other things, and it will go through the fonts in said folder and determine their type and their suitability for inclusion in the mobile config. What do I mean by that? I'm trying to figure that out myself. So, for instance, they could be corrupted. We don't want to import those. And also they could be duplicate. So if it's duplicate, it will still actually allow you to put duplicate fonts into the same mobile config. So you've got a copy of the same font twice because iOS just silently discards it. But it will at least warn you that you've got a duplicate config or a duplicate font in your mobile config file. So it goes through the directory, it finds the fonts that you specify, it puts them all in a mobile config just as blobs, and then it will optionally, if you want, you can just take the file and you could do like an airdrop if you're on a Mac OS system, or you could spin up a web server. So that's like the lowest friction path to getting this onto your iPhone. So let's do it that way. We're going to spin up a web server and let me quickly show you how this works. It would be, well, Python 3, iGlyph.py. There's some help. It's very helpful help. The serve flag, this is really the important one. The serve flag with an optional port number is going to spin up a ephemeral web server, and then on your local network, you can open the web page. It's not really a web page either. It's just it's just a port. When you browse to said port, it doesn't really matter. I don't even think it matters. If I remember correctly, I coded it so regardless of what you try to access, you're getting the mobile config, and that's all you're getting. I don't even think it'll 404 if you ask for the wrong path. Maybe it will, but you don't have to ask for a path. Let me just show you. This is way simpler than me trying to describe this verbally. It is, well, let's say juggle my windows here. What you want is first we specify the path. Let's say tiempos, and then we're going to glob on OTF fonts. Great. Just on its own, it makes a mobile config in the current directory. So it makes this iGlyph.mobileconfig. That's the default name that it outputs. However, if you don't want to airdrop it, because sometimes airdrop can be wonky, or maybe you're not on an Apple device or something, well, then you can also do this serve option. I'm just going to use the default port. That is --serve. And now it's listing on port 18,888. And if I go to Safari, browse to 172.16. Unfortunately, you still have to type it out. I was going to do QR codes, but that is a dependency. You would have to install that. And it just seemed more hassle than it was worth. 172.16.0.51. You don't have to find the IP address because I give you that in the script, but you do have to type it in. So 172.16.0.51.18.888. And it's okay, it's trying to download a configuration profile. Yeah, I do want to do that, please. It's downloaded. So you go over to your settings. You have to browse to it though. I had it open already because I've been testing this obviously, and then you can install it. And it tells you what fonts are present in the description, iGlyph, and yada yada yada, all that jazz. Install, and great. Now we'll install it. Yeah, it's not signed. Hopefully you can trust it if you yourself are the one that's basically creating it, right? So we can make a new, like just in Pages to demonstrate. Start writing. All right, so you've got some depressing poetry, and it's like, I don't think Helvetica or whatever the default typeface is really matching the mood. Depressing childhood trauma poetry. So you want to make sure that you match the mood. So you need a serif font. Obviously, you can't do sans serif if you're talking about childhood trauma. So Helvetica New is out. Well, let's go down to Tiempos, and there it is installed. Boom. And we can make it larger. Obviously, you know how fonts work. You know how text works. I'm not going to explain that, but you get the point. So I think that's a little bit easier than iFont for the way I use it. iFont has some other things though. I mean, it's got other features, so I don't want to poo-poo it too much. If you go to featured, like it's got these fonts that you can browse just directly in the app, which this stuff definitely doesn't have. But if you've got fonts, if you've got the font files and you already know what you want to install, this is going to be way easier. iGlyph. And the other consideration here is if I go back to settings, there's this minor detail of the fact that you have to pay for iFont. Where be my subscriptions, huh? Well, whatever. It's $30 a year, basically. You don't have to find it. It's $30 a year. So you don't maybe want to pay $30 a year just for the privilege of installing. I mean, it is an Apple, so maybe you do, but you probably don't want to pay $30 a year just to install fonts. Oh, that's so Apple, man. It's like we got dongles in the physical world, and then we got apps to install basic things like font typefaces. Can't quit them though, right? Anyway, that's all I got. Anything else on the feature side? I don't think so. It's pretty simple. So basically, the usual workflow and the expected workflow is you put fonts in a folder, you glob on them when you invoke iGlyph, and then you usually, or probably the easiest way to do it is to serve it over the network on port 18,888 or whatever you choose. 18,888 is just purely because you can press 8 just a bunch, in a row. It's less hunting and pecking on the mobile keyboard. That's all I got. See ya.